an example. Look at these young people. Can we be as wise and courageous as these young people? Look at them. Look at the ones who watched the hopes of a planet be destroyed by a do-nothing obstructionist Congress that still has not moved on climate change, that still has not moved toward clean energy, that's been stuck on stupid, afraid of science now for 3-4 years. And they looked in the face of that. And they said, the big folks can't move Congress. The big environmentalist folks can't move Congress. Maybe we should just go on and do something else. They said no. Look at these young people. They said, we're not going to let them put this dirty needle of a pipeline into America. We're not going to let them take the dirtiest energy ever created and cook it up and stick it into this country. We've got to stand up to these tar sands. We don't care if anybody comes to help us. And they broke the seal August of last year. And they, on civil disobedience against this White House, nobody a year ago was saying it's time to do civil disobedience against the White House. These young people said, my future and the future of this planet is too great. And 350.org and Bill McKibben and the Native American tribes went down in the heat of August. In the heat of August. And they sat in and thousands were arrested and the media tried to ignore it, but a message was sent. And through their courage, the project was derailed. The fight goes on. But look at these young people. Look at the young people who have transformed the discussion on lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender rights. Look at their courage, culturally, politically. Look at the young people who rescued America last year, coming out of that horrible August where the Tea Party put Congress in a headlock and said, if you don't do what we say, we're going to blow a hole in the American economy. We're going to destroy America's credit rating. And this whole town trembled in fear and gave in and said, okay, we'll create a super committee to do super damage to the American people. And some young people and some struggling folks, no posters, no lobbyists, no big grants, went down with some sleeping bags and some tents to the scene of the crime against their future and occupied Wall Street and turned this country upside down. Suddenly you could talk about economic inequality. Super committee never met. People say, well, what are those young people? Those young people. Their messaging was really not that great. And what was their agenda? Like, I've got an agenda. And a grant. And 501c3 status. What these young people? But they obliterated the entire idea that we were going to add damage to damage in this country and bought us a year to put our thinking caps on. So we have a responsibility now to be as brave and as courageous and as determined as these young people who have shown that if you struggle, you can win. If you fight, you can make progress. You say, well, they haven't made enough. Well, we haven't struggled enough. But there's a lesson trying to push through this catastrophe. There is some hope on the horizon if we aim for it. And so we have to do three things going forward. First, we have to win in November. And Brother Borisov has already talked about the stakes there. But part of the reason we have to win in November is because we have to also win in December. See, they let me in the White House for about 6 months. And I took some notes. I learned a couple of things. And one of the things that I learned, sisters and brothers, there's something called the lame duck session. You could win in November and lose in December. Because it's December when the most important budget battle of the past 20 years and of the next 20 years will take place. It is December, not just November, that progressives have to rally for. It is December that is the reason that we have to get off our hands and begin to mobilize the people. It's December that the Bush tax cuts expire, and they will either give the rich more of a break and put more pain on the people, or we're going to finally move towards some kind of justice. It's in December that the Pell Grants run out and low-income kids' door to college will be shut, possibly for a generation. It's in December that every can that was kicked down the road the past 2 years saying, we'll deal with that after the election. We'll deal with that after the election. Well, after the election now has a name. It's called December. Okay? And it's in December that a wrecking ball will possibly come down on our heads, or we can follow the lead of the young people and stand and fight. 3 things we got to do. Number 1, let's take advantage of the media that we already have. There's a great documentary called Heist, Who Stole the American Dream. It's going to be shown here at this conference. We have independent filmmakers, independent media makers that can begin to checkmate the power of this right-wing media machine. Number 2, the fight in December is going to be over economics. We can fight now on economic questions. The student loan struggle. On July 1st, if Congress don't act, if we don't make Congress act, the student loan, the interest rate on the Stafford student loans is going to double from 3.4% to 6.8%, taking $20 billion out of the pockets of the next generation of students. 8 million students are going to have to cough up an extra $20 billion because Congress is missing in action. If we want young people to be excited about our issues, we need to get excited about young people's issues and stop them from doing this to these young people. We can fight right now.